As sentient beings, we find ourselves thrown into a world that inflicts immense pain and suffering. So having the option of a graceful exit should be seen as a basic, universal human right. Since our existence is better to never have been, we should all have the right to die. Welcome to The Right to No Longer Exist, a Right to Die podcast featuring your hosts, Danny, Kevin, and Amanda. In this show, we attempt to change the perception of society's views of voluntary euthanasia and what true autonomy could look like.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of The Right to No Longer Exist, a Right to Die podcast. My name is Amanda. I'm joined today by Danny and Kevin, the other two parts of The Right to No Longer Exist. And we're so excited to do our first episode today. This has been a long time in coming. I've known Kevin and Danny for a long time now. We're all three of us, a part of the same opinion about so many topics, and we've worked together and talked to each other for a long time, and we're all very passionate about this subject, and I've been so impressed with the work that they've been doing. So I am a 38-year-old artist from Chicago, Illinois. I'm a filmmaker and a sculptor primarily, although I do dip my toes into whatever kind of art form that I can, so long as it's not dance. And I've long wanted to dedicate, a portion of my work towards the subject of the right to die. A lot of my primary kind of like artistic style, is sort of through the style of comedy and sort of weird art in general. And that's a very difficult sort of attitude and mode of creation to apply to a subject like the right to die. All of us really have been very involved over the last however many years in antinatalist activism. I myself am the host of the Exploring Antinatalism podcast and another podcast by the name of Antenatal News. I also directed a film by the name of The Epholist. And I really, over the last 10, 11 years, I've been involved in whatever kind of antinatalist activism that I possibly can get my hands on. And again, I've used a number of different styles to perform that activism, but comedy has always sort of been my favorite and I think most effective style. And the method of comedy is really important to apply to the subject of the right to die. And so I genuinely feel that over the last 10, 11 years, even though this is a subject I am incredibly passionate about, I've kind of failed in my own sort of sense of right to die activism because I haven't known sort of the best method of engagement. And I really feel like, since meeting Danny and Kevin and working with the two of them, I'm kind of getting that chance to like kind of find my way within this movement. And I'm very grateful for the both of them and very grateful to this project. And I'm just really excited to see how it develops. And I'm going to hand it over to the two of them. And I think they're going to introduce themselves.
Hello, everybody. My name is Danny Thomas. I am the co-founder of The Right to No Longer Exist. And I would like to change the perception on life as well as death. I am also an antinatalist who believes that life in itself is intrinsically negative, and the right to die should be a my body, my choice kind of thing. We believe in the right to no longer exist as a basic human right, and should be applied to every national constitution. And we have plenty of arguments coming up to support, our premise. And let's see, I've been for this for nearly 20 years now. I'm 37 years old, and this is my first stab at real world activism. And thank you to Amanda and Kevin for being a part of this. We got a lot of work to do, a lot of minds to change, but we're going to storm the beaches of delusion and and use logic. Yeah, that's okay. I think I'm done.
Hey everybody, my name's Kevin and I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be part of this organization with Amanda and Danny. We've been working hard on getting this thing going, and I'm really excited about it. And I couldn't be happier to have two people that are friends that are with me to start this journey, so to speak. So yeah, I'm the old guy in the group. You don't want to know the number, but it's up there. I first started to kind of realize the right to die when I guess my depression hit. And I guess when I was 16, 17, I started getting depression, but I also was having conversations with some people, and I actually worked at a church at the time, and I was having conversations with people that were theists, and they were really aggressive towards the right to die, because of the sanctity of life, and life is a gift, and your soul, God gave you your soul. Why would you? It's the ultimate sin, right? Get rid of your soul, like kill your soul. But during these conversations, I started to develop my idea about like, man, the death with dignity should be like number one in the world. And I was really struggling with that because they were kind of making these really hard, offensive accusations of things like it's selfish to kill yourself, or anyone that does this is a weakling or doesn't have courage. They're cowardice or whatever. And I was always so offended by that, because I'm just like, can't you understand the degree of suffering that they're going through? Is like, if they're telling you it's so bad to the point that they want to do some extreme thing to get out of it, how can you not respect that? You know what I mean? And so I started to develop the ideas of the right to die just throughout my life, and finally at a place where I can do some activism to some degree of however it's going to be, and I'm excited to do it. I'm an atheist. I became an atheist like 14-ish years ago, and it's been a great thing. And I've been vegan forever, and so there's a lot of these suffering ethical, like philosophical things to me that are so valuable and important in the world, and preventing someone's suffering, current suffering, not only preventing a suffering to not exist in the first place, but to cure, so to speak, the suffering that someone is currently having, by allowing them a graceful and dignified, peaceful death. And it's like only been, 3 or 4 years maybe that my brother killed himself. And so that didn't really lead me anywhere that I hadn't already been heading in this direction, because I was. I just gave it a personal touch where it's just like, wow, just to see it and be a part of it, and the tears and the pain and the suffering and the trauma it all was, is definitely a motivator to not have that happen to one single more person. And that number is pretty freaking high. It's 1 million a year approximately. These are tragic events that are happening right now, right in front of our faces, right now as we speak. So we're just looking to prevent that, and to cause it to take careful consideration for the welfare of someone's exit of life, which should be a peaceful thing, and not this fearing, scary, utter torment or fear, horror. Even if it's a natural death, people don't die, they're screaming at you of fear. There's no need for that. Sorry to lag on about that, but that's me. Just about me. I'm a musician. I like playing music. I like to film. I'm a filmmaker. I film weddings, and I wrote a Right to Die script for a short film about 2 years ago. And COVID put a nice hard stop on that, but I do hope to continue that, and I'm starting to get the wheels in motion for that to begin again, hopefully. So that's my goals, and that's about me. Yeah, and I'm really glad to be here. I'm excited to do these shows. We have so many guests and so many topics to talk about. To me, it seemed like we could have hundreds of shows, and still have topics to talk about. So I really hope this gets somewhere. I hope this really changes perceptions of what it is to, kill yourself or suicide, these words that have a lot of baggage, as opposed to voluntary euthanasia or peaceful exits. They're really different. They really have a big difference of the reality. And I hope we can change that. And so I'm grateful to be here and be part of my friends and this group and organization and where we're headed. And thank you so much. I'll toss it to Amanda, I think, for our next topic.
Thanks so much, Kevin. Yeah, so now we want to have a bit of a discussion, or we're each going to give our opinions on sort of what separates the right to no longer exist from other right to die movements, because obviously this is a subject that does have a lot of groups all over the world that are advocating for the right to die in one way or the other. But I think what we're offering this subject is something a little bit different. I think the way that we're coming at it, and just sort of the ethical framework that we're all three of us are sort of working in is a little bit different, and I think I think we have something sort of unique to offer through this podcast and just to further the discussion of the right to die. So I'm going to hand it over to Danny, and I think he'd like to say some things about that.
I believe that, like I said, I believe that the right to no longer exist should be a universal human right for all, not circumstantial for some. I am totally opposed to the trend of granting it to the 1%, so to speak. Everybody should have it, especially when you take into consideration that, existence was forced upon everybody, and that, someday we're all going to die. So there's no real logic behind telling someone that they're wrong for wanting to take a shortcut to the void, because that's where we're all headed. I mean, life does not come with happy endings, and I think we have to face a lot of hard truths here. And of course, I would also like to separate the terms euthanasia from suicide. Suicide being the agonizing, desperate exit as a consequence of not having euthanasia, and euthanasia being the graceful, informed exit, and that's something that everybody deserves. And as long as we have euthanasia prohibition, millions of people will continue to butcher themselves annually in order to obtain the freedom from existence that they deserve. Okay.
Yeah, excellent. I second Danny's statements completely. It's just utterly insane, honestly, about how the society's perception about life is like, keep it alive and keep it going at all costs, and not really take into account that it's better to shorten a negative value than, quality over quantity, basically. We do it with our pets, all these things that are obvious and we all get it and everyone's logical about it. But when it comes to human life, we get really weird and it's no good. And our goal is to change those perceptions in the sense that where we think that rights like that should be granted towards the 99%, like Danny said. Because right now, death with dignity it's a great option for some. But I mean, all the red tape that you have to go through to get there, and the tiny, minute amount of people that it actually is applied for, doesn't really amount to nothing, really. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, of the population that is really suffering. So our mission here is to just to normalize the idea that it's okay that if a 30-year-old hates life, is struggling, whatever the reasons are irrelevant. It's to respect the fact that they are making this decision for themselves. And I think that respecting that is the ultimate honoring of their life, right? Like, it's disrespectful to force someone to remain alive if they don't want to, because it's dictatorial, you know. It's kind of, nope, you got to stick around here for us just because we have a vision in our minds that you know, life is precious. Well, if that's your vision, good for you, but that's, I hate to say it, not other people's visions. Some other people's visions of life are just a very dark, horrific place, you know, a hell, so to speak, a living hell. So we're just opening up that floodgate of opportunity for others and graciousness towards all other types of people. How far it goes and this and that and legislation, we'll have plenty of episodes to talk about that and how that looks. But that's definitely what separates us from the death with dignity laws and whatnot, because a lot of that just really applies to older folks with cancer or whatever, and that's great. But there's a huge chunk of people that are not living that life at all, and that's I think what separates us. Yes. And so Amanda has her take on this too. So Amanda, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kevin. Yeah, so I absolutely have to agree and mirror everything that Danny and Kevin said. You know, I am eternally grateful to all of the pre-existing, you know, Right to Die advocacy groups all over the world. I think they all do fantastic work. But as, you know, Kevin was saying, you know, so much of the focus of so many of these other groups is on older people that are, you know, terminally ill, looking for their right to die. And that work is incredibly important. You know, that this is in no way trying to put down that advocacy. It's some of the most important advocacy in the world. But I think that, you know, especially coming from a place of antinatalism, as I think each of us has said before, that, you know, if you believe that it is wrong to create life in the first place, you know, if you believe that it's wrong to lay the eggs in the first place in this world, then providing a graceful exit to that existence is just absolutely paramount. And recognizing the fact that, you know, the right to die has to belong to everybody. And obviously that's a very controversial thing to say. Obviously, I think all of us, each of us has thoughts on sort of when that right should be extended based on, you know, age and stuff. And I'm sure that we'll get into that discussion, you know, down the line. But the fact of the matter is, you know, as individuals on this planet, we sort of each have a time when we just might be done, you know, and sometimes that time may come when we're elderly and frail, and sometimes that may happen when we're so much younger than that. And so unfortunately, the vast majority of right to die advocacy as it exists now is only for older people. And so, you know, just the rest of the living basically has to be silent, and that voice is sort of squashed. And it's incredibly taboo to extend the right to die to younger people. And that does an incredible disservice to not only the already existing who are in need of their right to die, but also the people that you continue to bring into the world. Because the people that are brought into the world, the people in the womb right now that are of, you know, a twinkle in their parents' eye, you know, at the minute, they will come into the world, and at some point they will need to not suffer through their lives anymore or through a natural death. All of us at some point will be in need of a right to die whenever that comes. And so, you know, we believe that the right to die does need to be a sentient voice. It needs to be sort of a recognition of that this is part of the human condition. It's part of the living condition. You know, things that live should have the right to a graceful exit. And again, I think, you know, part of what makes our voice in this so unique is that it's really sort of, I think each of us has come to, you know, an understanding that, you know, life has its lovely things in it, but we are dealing with a design that was broken in the first place. It's not something that can be fixed. It's, you know, it's something that is endured. And the fact of the matter is sometimes you can only endure it so long. And that it wasn't really a good idea to impose it in the first place. And it just naturally follows that how to get out of that situation, once sort of the ride is over, again, is just of paramount importance in all of our existences. So I think that's a big difference, sort of from the attitude and the language of a lot of the already existing Right to Die movement. And I don't know what else to say other than that. We're so excited to be able to voice that, because I think it's definitely an attitude about life. It's an attitude about existence. It's an attitude about the right to die that all three of us are extremely passionate in, and in our own ways have been creating work around through video, through writing, through various means of production for a long time. But to come together on all of that is really something special. The other thing we'd like to talk a little bit about today are just what our personal goals are. So I'll just go first real quickly, and then Danny and Kevin will take it over. As far as what my personal goals are, I mean, I talked a little bit about this in the intro. It's just, I've sort of been, again, so passionate about this subject for so long, but sort of rudderless, like just not really sure how to go forward with this subject. And, I want to be a better right to die advocate. I mean, that's really my goal, my end goal with all of this is how do I best become a vessel for the furthering of this subject and for the understanding of this subject? How do I become more articulate about it? How do I become somebody that can produce content around it? How do I engage others in conversation about it? In just a better, more structured, more effective way. It's really funny because it's something that I think about all the time. It's something that I've attempted to create work around for such a long time now. It's something that is always sort of in the background of all of the work that I do. But it's just sort of unformed. It's a little bit amorphous. And so I hope to give form to my own right to die advocacy through this podcast and through the Right to No Longer Exist. And I really do think it'll happen through doing this podcast. So that's just my own personal goals, really. Quite broad, I know. But anyway, I'll hand it over to Danny now.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is vital is to bring societal awareness on this issue. I'm actually quite surprised that, human and civil rights organizations around the world have checked every box except for the right to die, even on a basic level. And I don't see this as like a left or right issue. I see it as a rational and dignified issue. But I'm kind of disappointed that the left are not, too sympathetic they're not bringing this issue to the forefront like they should be. It's 2021, and I recognize that, our goals it's going to be a multi-generational struggle, and this stuff is not going to happen overnight. So but I'm looking forward to, coming up with new ways of talking about this, new ideas, new solutions, and hopefully one glorious day, the right to no longer exist will be in every national constitution, accepted by every human and civil rights organizations, as well as society as a whole. Thank you.
Yeah, Danny hit it hard with the glorious moment of having this be some kind of legalized thing, because to me it really would be. I would be almost treating it like a Super Bowl, like my team just won the Super Bowl. If I ever was alive to see a change to where they say, hey, yes, we have a universal right to die and blah blah blah, it's pretty easy, like insanely easy compared to what it is now. I would just be so happy. I mean, just so happy to see it, and also to know that my future death might not be agony, my family's, my friends, whatever. So yeah, to see that legalized would be a huge personal goal. I would love it. But also to change, also like what Danny says too. I want to see the change that I have seen even in my personal life. I have a really good friend, and he was pro-life in this regard. And we've been friends for a long, long time. And since just ranting about it and just kind of just nagging him about it, or whenever the subject comes up, I think the logic will always win here, like no matter how much emotions get involved, because this is a very emotional subject. Obviously, you're going to lose some of your family, or you're losing some of your friends or whatnot, but it's the how-to that is so vital and so key, is the how-to. But I'm just happy to know that I converted, so to speak, my friend. And now he sees it, he gets it. Took me quite a long time to convert him. But the beauty of the internet and the modern age technology, we get to preserve things like this that can just last for a long, long time. And hopefully the right people see it, and enough people see it and understand it and get it, and say, hey, this is not, what's the big deal here? We're just trying to give someone a peaceful way to go. And that's my main personal goal too. Yeah. So, all right, guys. So thanks so much for watching and listening. And we're excited to have more shows and more guests and all kinds of topics and things happening in the future. So welcome and stay tuned. Is there anything else you guys want to say other than obviously goodbye?
Just thank you so much to everybody for listening. I'm so excited to, finally be doing our first episode. We are on Facebook. I don't know if the website will be up by the time this episode goes up. I don't know when our next episode will be out. We don't really have a set recording schedule per se. But you should definitely, just sort of bookmark us, definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're on Anchor, correct? Not Buzzsprout.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely keep abreast of us on Anchor. And I think we'll be on a lot of other platforms as well. And, just keep an eye out for more on the way.
Thanks so much.
Hey, everybody.
Bye,
Bye. Take care. Bye.
You have been listening to the Right to No Longer Exist, a Right to Die podcast. We hope that you have enjoyed your time and found the information valuable. Please visit us at therighttonolongerexist.com to learn more about our organization and mission statement. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at The Right to No Longer Exist. There you will find links to our individual channels as well. If you would like to contact us directly, please email info@therighttonolongerexist.com. Thank you for your time, and let's remember that during the time that it took to listen to this podcast, dozens, if not hundreds of people endured a horrific death by suicide. Let's fight together for a world where this doesn't happen anymore. See you next time on the Right to No Longer Exist podcast.